Okay, on today's feature, we've got a singer, songwriter, Scottish. His name is Wallace Mair, and I have invited him on to talk about the decade that is the 1980s, his memories, and any anecdotes he may have. So I would want to say, Wallace Mair, welcome to the show. Welcome to this feature.
Hi, Danny. Great to be back on the show again. And what an interesting topic. Absolutely brilliant, mate.
Great stuff. I've got some questions I'm going to fire at you. And first up, the 1980s. What was the first vinyl you bought in that decade? Do you actually remember going to the record shop to buy vinyl?
Yes, the first vinyl that I ever bought was 1979. So it's penultimate 80s. It's just before the 80s. It was the police walking on the moon.
Oh, wow.
I think it was about £2, £1.50 if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And I always remember it was round about Christmas time, and I went round the houses selling holly. You know, I must have been about, what age would I have been then? 12, 13. And that was my first single, 79. But into the 80s, which is obviously the most colourful time in music.
It is.
The first single that I actually ever bought, and this is of no coincidence, by the way, it was H2O, Ian Donaldson. And I was in Oban. I was doing a gig in Oban, which is a town in the west coast of Scotland. It's quite a well-known place. And I was doing a gig there, and this fella said to me, he said, "Have you ever heard of a band called H2O?" Because I think they were actually playing in Oban as well. So I said, no. So he said, "Go and buy the single." So I did, and obviously I loved it ever since. But that was my first ever single.
Yeah, classic. Getting pocket money, going to Woolworths, saving up, and then seeing the new releases. Can't beat it.
That's right.
Yeah. Ian Donaldson, great friend of the show as well. The Scottish music scene I wanted to touch on as well. You had Simple Minds, Wet, 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 a bit later on in the decade. Altered Images, Aztec Camera, mid-80s, Deacon Blue, Danny Wilson, Hue and Cry. I know you're an established singer-songwriter now, but did you grow up on that scene, that kind of circle of Scottish musicians in that time?
Back then, Danny, I was more known in the pub scene. I was very aware of the bands and loved them. I just loved the music that they were producing. But I was more pub club level. But always enjoyed going to their concerts and gigs and such like. And I managed to support some bands. One that comes to mind was Middle of the Road. Do you remember them?
Yeah, well, the name does ring a bell. Yes.
Yeah, they sang Choppy Choppy Cheep Cheep.
Oh, right, okay. I'll have to check that one out, cool.
Yeah, they were the kind of Scottish ABBA.
Oh, right.
They had a huge hit with Choppy Choppy Cheep Cheep.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of the listeners will remember that one.
We'll check that one out. And quite a few of the 80s bands, they were alliterated and double-barreled names, such as Talk Talk. Both of those words begin with T. Adamant, Culture Club, Bronskibby and Duran Duran. And Spandau Ballet, Human League, they were double-barreled as well. I'm sure the list goes on. Did you have the Walkman, in the 80s? Bought the cassettes and the records. Did you actually have Walkman?
Yes, I did. I remember it well, but it was something that I could never get into the way of. Sometimes I wonder, was it a fashion icon or something? But because they did get better as time went on. But yeah, certainly, Danny, I do remember the the Walkmans very well, mate.
Yeah. I remember. I mean, I'm late '80s myself. Probably. Yeah, I was perhaps 7 when I saw it in the Argos catalogue about 1989, and the Zony was perhaps a pioneer of the Walkman. And even then, that was about 80, 90, 100 quid, which is a lot of money back then. Cassettes.
Yeah, Danny. I think sometimes I think they kind of things were dearer back then. I think they've actually got slightly cheaper. Nowadays. Even with like CD sales and download sales, it's all quite relatively, cheap now. But back in the 80s, everything was, I thought, just that wee bit more expensive,
Maybe overinflated, but that's my opinion. But
yes, exactly.
God, the gentleman who invented the cassette recently passed away. Which is sad news, 94. Did you used to tape off the radio? Remember the chart rundown, the charts?
Yes, I loved doing that, Danny. It was mainly on a Sunday night. You had the top 40 on a Sunday night, and I think every teenager had their tape recorders at the ready.
Yeah.
And you'll remember too, Danny, that there was 2 buttons you pressed. I think you pressed record and play, and in turn that recorded the radio show.
Yeah.
So that was the way that we got a lot of our music back then. But then they brought out the Pirate Skull and Crossbone on the cassettes, so that you would stop recording other tapes, because then the musicians were being they were being shortchanged. They weren't making the money they should be.
One idol. Yeah, sure. One idol of mine, Tommy Vance. He was a great. He's one of my favourite Radio 1 presenters back in the time. Inspirational. I mean, there are many other radio DJs back then. You only had to look at Top of the Pops, and they were there presenting, weren't they?
Yeah. They had lots of good presenters back then. The one that always comes to mind, I think he's on Radio 2 now. Is that Steve?
Is it? Oh, yeah, Steve Wright. Yeah. He was very prominent.
Steve Wright.
Yeah.
Steve Wright was. He was always my favourite. Steve Wright in the afternoon,
Yeah.
He just listened to him. I just loved his show. And,
still going strong. So just wrapping up now. I know you're reading books at the moment. One good autobiography I've read was Substance by Peter Hook. Quite an eventful life he has lived over the years from New Order. But I know you have been engrossed in John Taylor from Duran Duran as well, autobiography.
Yes, I've been reading that biography, and I was actually, it's a very good read, Danny. I would recommend it. He's very open, he's very honest, and his career, and there was a lot of things that I had absolutely no idea about John Taylor. I've seen them live, and they were absolutely amazing, but he never ever came across, on the media that, just the kind of lifestyle that he actually had.
Yeah. I had no. I know he liked the glamorous side. He was married to Amanda Cadenet, I believe, at one point.
Yes. He was married, and then I think he married again.
Yeah.
Yes, but he certainly had the demons. He had a lot going on. But yes, if any of the listeners are interested, they should have a read at that John Taylor biography. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, Tommy's against us, but I'm just going to wrap up now. You've relocated to Woz. Which band in Australia do you like from that decade? I can help you out. I've got Ice House, Mental as Anything.
Oh, Danny, it's got to be an XS. And do you know, I never really thought much about them when I was in the UK, but it's funny how it happened. But when I lived here in Australia, I really started to get into them, and I cover quite a few of their songs. And then there's Men at Work as well. You know, Men at Work were absolutely amazing.
Yeah, great stuff. And I know AC/DC, Midnight Oil, they're connected as well to the Land of Oz. And briefly, make it very, very brief for me. Can you tell me what you miss about the 80s, the decade?
Oh, what I miss about the 80s decade is just the rawness of all, the colour. You know, it was just flamboyant. There's a word for you, Danny.
Yeah,
and
nice word.
The music was lovely. It was fresh, you know, and you had all this synthesizers and stuff like that, and it just worked so well with guitars, and I just loved the 80s, Danny.
Good decade. That's why we do these shows, because they are popular. Wallace, I'm going to play one of your acoustic numbers now for our listeners. This is Hold Me Now, Thompson Twins acoustic version, exclusive you done the other day. So I just want to say thanks for joining me on the show, the feature. I'm Danny Sun, Wallace Mair, Scottish singer-songwriter, reminiscing about the great decade, which was the 1980s. Always good to have you on.
Danny, an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, and we'll speak again sometime in the future. You've been absolutely brilliant, Danny.
We will do.
I have a picture pinned to my wall, an image of you and of me, and we're laughing and loving it all. But look at our life now, tattered and torn. We fuss and we fight and delight in the tears that we cry until dawn. Oh, hold me now. Oh, my heart. Stay with me. Let love it start. Let love it start. You say I'm a dreamer. We're two of a kind. Both of us searching for some perfect world you know we'll never find. So perhaps I should leave here, yeah, go far away. But you know that there's nowhere that I'd rather be than with you here today. Oh, hold me now. Oh, my heart. And stay with me. Let love it start. Let love it start. Hold me now. Oh, my heart. Stay with me. Let love it start. Let love it start. You ask if I love you. Well, what can I say? You know that I do, and if this is just one of these games that you play, so I'll sing you a new song. Please don't cry anymore. I'll even ask for forgiveness, though I don't know just what I'm asking it for. Oh, oh, oh. start, let loving start. Hold me now, oh, warm my heart, and stay with me. Let loving start, let loving start.